Hope you're having a good day today. It's September 17th. Come on with me to the book of Ezra. We're in Ezra chapters 9 and 10 today. As you have issues with marriage among the Gentiles, as is what we're dealing with here. See, back up just a little bit to chapter 8, as you have the remnant coming back, as you have, let's come down to around verse 31. We departed from the river, right? So you have these waves coming back. We departed from the river of Ahava, and they came back, they brought their offerings, and then we get into chapter 9. When these things were done, the leaders came to me, saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands with respect to the abominations of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the others. For they have taken some of their daughters as wives for themselves and their sons, so that the holy seed is mixed with the people of those lands. Indeed, the hand of the leaders and rulers has been foremost in this trespass. So when I heard this thing, I tore my garment, my robe, and plucked out some of the hair of my head and beard, and sat down astonished. Then everyone who trembled at the words of God, of the God of Israel, assembled to me because of the transgression of those who had been carried away captive, and I sat astonished until the evening sacrifice. So, what ends up happening, they're going to end up having to put their wives away. And in Jeremiah, they had been told to plant gardens, and actually, let me see if I can find it quickly. They had been told to plant gardens. Oh, let's see. Yeah, this is Jeremiah 29 at verse 5. Build houses and dwell in them, plant gardens, eat their fruit, take wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons and give your daughters to husbands, so that they may bear sons and daughters, that you may be increased there and not diminished. If they thought that meant take heathen wives, they were wrong. They were wrong. What God was saying was, you need to live your life. You need to buckle up for the long haul. It's going to be 70 years. And if y'all don't have kids, the nation's going to come to an end. And so he wanted them to have families. But you can tell what many of them had done. Even the rulers, they had taken wives from the pagans. And so they're going to have to put them away. They come back, and it comes to Ezra's attention that these things had happened. He prays to the Lord. He's lamenting. He's mourning once again, and these things have to be dealt with. What could they have said? What could their excuses have been? And let's just ask it this way: did certain things make what they had done okay? Namely, they had been in a hard situation, and it was a hard situation. They'd been in captivity. Did that make it okay? Just because it was a hard situation? No. No, it was not okay. And you can tell, I would encourage you to read Ezra chapter 9, where you have the reason for this commandment being given. To look over at around verse 11, it looks like. Come down a little bit in verse 11. We were slaves, yet God did not forsake our bondage. He extended mercy. Verse 10, what shall we say? We've forsaken your commandments. You commanded, saying, the land which you're entering possesses an unclean land with the uncleanness of the peoples of the land, with their abominations. Don't give your daughters as wives. Verse 12, don't seek their peace or prosperity, that you may be strong and eat the good of the land and leave it as an inheritance to your children forever. And you see it time and time again that because of this issue, people would lose everything. Solomon. The kingdom is going to be divided within a generation after Solomon. Even here, you can tell they are concerned. Oh, go through and read it. There's a mention of the seed, and I'd have to hunt for it, but it's within chapters. Oh, let me see if I can find it. Pardon me. Once again, a little scatterbrained today. But let's see if we can find the passage I'm looking for in Ezra. But there's a mention, it's chapter 9, and I had to, we may have actually read it. Back up to chapter 2. For they have taken some of their daughters as wives for themselves and their sons, so that the holy seed is mixed with the peoples of those lands. Indeed, the hand of the leaders of the rulers has been foremost. Pardon me. I missed it, didn't I? Captivity did not make it okay. It was a hard situation. That did not make it okay. The fact that they had had children with them also did not make it okay. This whole thing, when it's going to be dealt with, it is going to be extremely, extremely difficult. And one of the things that made it even more difficult was chapter 10 of verse 44. All these had taken pagan wives, and some of them had had wives by whom they had children. So did that mean they didn't have to deal with the issue? No, they still had to deal with the issue. Their marriages were not what they should have been. Yeah, it was a hard situation. That didn't make it okay. Yes, they had children. That did not make it okay. The fact that others had done it as well did not make it okay. All of chapter 10, pretty much, from verse 18 down through the end of the chapter, except for that last verse, enumerates all those who had done this sin. And it names them. And it names them because their names are being written down because they're going to be held accountable. So they're going to have to deal with this issue. Sometimes people don't deal with issues and their reason is, well, others did it, so why can't I do it? Nope, you got to deal with it, and names are being taken. And did you notice where we actually, one of those first few verses, where it speaks about the rulers? We've trespassed against our God, and let's see, oh, good grief, verse 9, chapter 9, pardon me. Oh, the hand of the leaders, verse 2. I keep missing verse 2. Indeed, the hand of the leaders and rulers has been foremost in this trespass. When you come down to chapter 10 at verse 15, you have verse 14, let the leaders of our entire assembly stand and let all those in our cities who've taken pagan wives come at appointed times. What they're going to say is, give us time. We need time. Let me back up a little bit. Pardon me, I'm kind of hodgepodge today. Verse 10. You have transgressed and have taken pagan wives. Make confession. Verse 11. Separate yourselves from the people of the land and from the pagan wives. Verse 11. Verse 12. As you said, we must do. Verse 13. But there are many peoples, and it is the season for heavy rain, and we are not able to stand outside, nor is this the work of 1 or 2 days, for there are many of us who have transgressed in this matter. Please let the leaders of the entire assembly stand. Let all those in our cities who've taken pagan wives come at appointed times, together with the elders and judges of their cities, until the fierce wrath of our God is turned away from us in this matter. So they ask for time. Verse 15 now, only Jonathan the son of Asahel and Jahaziah the son of Tikvah opposed this, and Meshullam and Shabbathai, the Levite, gave them support. Now there's something odd about this passage. Verse 15. New King James, you have these who oppose this. Why would they oppose this? Now what's interesting, this is New King James, ESV, they oppose this. New American Standard, they oppose this. But the King James translates it as those two men were employed about this matter, and Meshullam and the other one, the Levite, helped them. Perhaps they opposed it. That word there, I think it literally means to stand. So the question is, are they standing for it or are they standing against it? You can tell all the other translations except for the King James. Maybe there's others. Yeah, the ASV is stood up against this matter. So, regardless, the point I wanted to make is, well, yeah, but the leaders, and we know the leaders were engaged in this, so it's like, looks like they opposed it. Why would you oppose it? It may be they opposed it because these people said, well, we need more time. And it's like, do you really need more time, or are you just procrastinating? Or they may have opposed it because they were caught up in the sin themselves. If that's the case, those who opposed it, that didn't make it okay. Just because the leaders were doing it did not make it okay. Captivity, a hard situation, didn't make it okay. The fact they had kids didn't make it okay. The fact others were doing it didn't make it okay. The fact the leaders were doing it didn't make it okay. They had to deal with it. They had to deal with it. So, there are applications there, but that's what they're going to have to deal with as they come back from captivity. Hope this study's been helpful for you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another brief look into God's Word.